Hi guys, we're here with Kristal Bradford, and we're gonna hear all about you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So, my name is Kristal Bradford, and I am running for Las Vegas Justice of the Peace Department 2. Currently, I'm at the Public Defender's Office. I'm a Chief Deputy Public Defender. I've been there for 6 years. Before that, I did civil litigation for 6 years. So, I had my own firm. I did bankruptcy. I did personal injury law. I did consumer law. And actually, before that, I was at the District Attorney's Office.
Wow, amazing.
So a lot of experience, variety of experience.
That's impressive. Again, what is the District 2, if you can explain the Department 2, all that, that sounds...
Yes. So the way the Justice Court is set up in Las Vegas, there's 16 different departments, and there's not a big difference between any department. It's just how the cases are assigned. So some departments handle just civil, some handle criminal. Actually, the chief justice court judge is the one who decides what department handles what, and that can change. So for 1 year, that department, let's say Department 2, might handle just criminal cases, and then the next year now it's handling civil cases or a split docket. So there's not a big difference between 2 or 3 or 4. It's just the department that I'm running in.
Interesting. I thought it was like sections and... Oh, wow.
But I will say in the judicial system, the way it's set up is you have municipal court first. That is if you get a traffic ticket. So if you're speeding, get a traffic ticket in Las Vegas, they send you to municipal court. The next higher court is justice court, and that's where I'm running. So justice court handles misdemeanors all the way up to trial, felonies up to preliminary hearing. It also has jurisdiction to handle evictions, temporary restraining orders, and civil cases 15,000 and under. The next level, of course, district court, and that's where you get like all the life sentencings and the jury trials. After district court, then there's Court of Appeals, and then Nevada Supreme Court, which is the highest court. So that's kind of the structure.
Wow. Is that where you're aiming to go in the future eventually?
You know, I'm not. I did have a case this year in front of the Nevada Supreme Court where they overturned the district court's order from the judge not following the law and ruled in my favor. But I really want to be a judge in justice court. I feel like justice court is people's first introduction into court. It's the first time that they're usually in court. And I feel like you can reach a lot more people there than, in the Supreme Court, which really handles just like the appeals and laws.
So it's, can you share with us your journey in the legal field up until now, and what inspired you to pursue a career in law initially?
So I actually started in California. So I'm from California. I went to UCLA undergrad, and then I went to Western State College of Law for law school, and I actually got a full ride to both. So I did not take out any student loans, full academic scholarships. I took the bar in California. I passed it, and I worked there for 6 years before I took the bar out in Nevada, and then I passed it. And so I actually am licensed to practice in California and in Nevada.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good idea to go in Cali with all the...
So I will say California, it's a lot more attorneys because it's a bigger population than it is in Nevada. So it's just more, I feel like more cutthroat, a lot more competition. Nevada, at least where I work in the public defender's office, is a lot friendlier. A lot of more support, help than I saw in California.
And the evictions there?
So I did not do eviction law there, but, after the pandemic, it's just been very tough for a lot of people when it comes to housing and evictions.
Right. How's the journey toward becoming a judge like? What do you have to do? Like, it sounds like... hustle.
So in Nevada, you have to be licensed for 5 years to run for justice court. You have to be licensed 10 years to run for district court, and that's a licensed attorney. So it's not, a lot of requirements, but because it's an elected position, I'll actually clarify that. So if the bench opens up, meaning a judge retires or a judge dies while they are serving their term, then what will happen is they can open it up for appointment. And that means that's just a job application, right? You submit a job application. If it's in justice court, the county commissioners would then decide who would be put on the bench. If it is a regular election year, then it is just an elected office. So we go out, we campaign, and we really try to connect with people and explain why we're the best judge. But just on, if you qualify, you just have to be a resident and you have to have practice for 5 years.
I'm still shocked. So I'm trying to add up all these years, 5 and 10 and this and that. Black don't crack, that's for sure. But oh my goodness, how young did you start this
So
thing?
I've been practicing for 12 years.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. And what makes you better than what separates you from your opponent?
So I think the biggest thing is me following the law. So, yes.
I want to know more about that.
Yes. So, and it's not just me. If we actually have an article in the Nevada Current and also the Review Journal where my opponent currently is not following the law. So as a judge, oh yes, it's more common than you think. So as a judge, we have to be nonpartisan, right? We cannot be Democrat or Republican. We have to be nonpartisan, which is the way you want it to be, because when you appear in front of a judge, you don't want to feel like the judge is going to dislike you because of who you supported for the presidential race. Or if I show up, with a MAGA hat, or if I show up with a Kamala shirt on, I'm going to get preferential treatment, or the judge is going to treat me worse. So they really, to try to stop all of that kind of unfairness and bias, we have to be nonpartisan. So what my opponent did was he sent out his mailers and cards, where people saying vote for me, but he put endorsed by the Republican Party in bright red, and he put their logo, which we are not allowed to do. We are not allowed to put endorsed by a party, Republican, Democrat. We're not allowed to put that.
Even I know that. What the hell?
Yes. So because of that, and again, you can Google it. This is out there. This is not something I'm making up. But because of that, he actually broke a judicial canon, and the judicial canons is pretty much an order from the Supreme Court that gives the rules on judges. So they say judges have to be fair, have to be unbiased, have to be impartial. Yeah. And it gives guidelines for how judges are to behave. And it is very clear. It says that a judge cannot be endorsed by a political party or seek endorsement. And so
him being a Republican is one thing, but saying you're endorsed? What,
yes.
What, I mean.
So he's actually, from my understanding, not Republican even. Yes. But to get that vote, he was saying that he was endorsed by the Republican Party. Just so that other Republicans would look at that and say, oh, let me vote for this judge because, he's endorsed by the Republican Party.
Which is hilarious. It's like, okay, who exactly are you talking about? Like, who? Yeah. Wow. Anyway, that's interesting. In your opinion, what is the biggest flaw in our judicial system?
So there's a couple flaws in our judicial system. One is just pure caseload. The cases are heavy. So sometimes courtroom starts 8:30, 9 o'clock, and just from the volume of cases that each judge sees, even though it's 16 different courtrooms, the pure volume, some courts don't get out to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and it's kind of taking all day. And so just a pure volume, if we can get that cut down by half, then it would be a lot better judicial system. The second thing that I feel like a lot of flaws on the justice system is resources, a lack of resources. So a lot of resources that are available to people are only available after they commit a crime and been convicted of a crime. So we have drug court, we have mental health court, veterans court, but a lot of these services are not available unless you commit a crime, which is extremely backwards because we want people to not commit crimes and we want to give them resources to prevent them from committing crimes, but those are not available until they commit a crime. So I just think that's just a very backward cycle that, if we can find the resources before a crime has been committed, then that and more diversion programs and things like that, I think that would make the judicial system a lot better.
And what I liked about, and I completely agree, I liked about you was that you just said, I followed the law, but you didn't actually say, I could be the first African-American woman to be a judge ever in this state.
So I wouldn't be the first, but right now, no. So there's a couple before me. There's Sybil Dawson, there's Karen Bennett-Herron, and that's in Las Vegas Justice Court, but they are not on the bench. So right now, for any district, so out of the 16 districts right now, there's not one African-American in the Las Vegas justice on the Justice Court. So there's two of us running, myself and Jessica Smith-Peterson. She's also African-American running. She's running in Department 4. We're the only two running. So if we are elected, we will be the only two African Americans sitting on the bench in Las Vegas Justice Court.
It's very interesting. Wow. Two.
Yes.
All right. Wow. How would you handle cases where there is significant political pressure or media influence? Like stealing case, for example.
Yes. So being at the Public Defender's Office, I have a lot of media cases. So I was in the news last week for a person. They've started, there's a new law where pretty much if you sell anyone fentanyl products and they overdose, then they can charge you with second-degree murder, which any other drug, they cannot do that. So like if you sell cocaine to someone, they overdose on just cocaine, you might be charged with selling drugs, you might be charged with possession of drugs, but you're not charged with the murder of the person that OD'd. With fentanyl, there is a law that allows the state to charge you. So I was in the news last week for representing someone that was charged in court. We have a lot of media attention cases. I've been in the news for representing the stalker of Miley Cyrus. So, yes. So I see with media cases because they're out there, right? And sometimes media can be one-sided. So I think you just have to really follow the law, really be prepared, be organized. And that's all you can do, unfortunately, with these media cases, because you can't close your courtroom. These are open proceedings. It's open to the public. The media is allowed to come as long as it's not a confidentiality situation like a kid or, someone who might have been sexually assaulted or anything like that. Then it is open to the media. And I think you handle it the way you would handle any case. You just give it the attention that it needs, go slowly, make clear rulings so that it's known why you're doing this, and base your rulings, again, off of the law.
What can you tell us about the Miley Cyrus stalker situation?
So that was a few years ago. I can just tell you that it was resolved.
All right.
There's a lot of confidentiality things when it comes to our clients and things like that, but very interesting.
Oh, man. Okay. Can you provide an example of a case or a legal principle that profoundly shaped your perspective on justice?
I would say there's not necessarily one case that has really shaped me. It's just an aggregate of cases that have shaped me. Because being at the Public Defender's Office, we're representing the most vulnerable people in our society. And most of my clients are very remorseful. The toughest ones are DUI deaths or reckless driving deaths, because most of those cases, the person does not have a criminal history. They don't have a record. They're not a violent person. They're not normally out committing crimes, but they just made one mistake that just had dire consequences. So that's like Henry Ruggs, right? So, and no one wins. There's, even if the person does a lot of time, their family is affected. The victim's family, of course, is affected. And it just is a really tough situation on all sides. And it's hard in these situations. Like I said, these are not your average criminals, going out robbing people. This is someone who made a terrible judgment call, decided to drink, get behind the wheel, and decide to drive. And, and sometimes there's unavoided accidents. I had a client where it was a jaywalker. It was clear as a jaywalker, and it was at night. However, he was still driving impaired, so it's just a really sad situation. And I think going through those types of cases, it really changes you because it allows you to see both sides. It allows you to feel horrible for the victim because we're out driving every day, right? So you can relate to just a normal driver or someone walking. And then, it also, you feel bad for your clients as well because you see the remorse. You see how sorry they are. You see how they know their life is about to drastically change. And it's just, it's tough to be in those situations. And then the law is very clear. There's certain things in the law where if someone gets injured or dies, a lot of times the client is going to prison and they may have never went to prison before. So it's just a changing thing. But I will say it has made me feel even more strongly to not get behind the wheel or have alcohol behind the wheel or to tell other people not to get behind the wheel because anything can happen.
Man, I don't know if I could do your job. Sounds so stressful to be able to see that person's pain and all the.
It's stressful, but it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding. So I've had some clients that have graduated from drug court that have maybe never been clean their entire life. And then they get into drug court and they invite me to their graduation. And it's their first time in 20 years or 30 years where they're clean, where they have their own apartment or house, where they have a job, where they have a car. And when you see that and see that change, because mind you, I've met them and been with them since day one. So I've seen them when they came in the jail detoxing. I've seen them when they were very angry. I went through their case with them. So to see them then graduate and just be very proud, it's so rewarding that it makes up for the stress of the job. And they're just very grateful. They're grateful that you thought about them, that you gave them a chance, that you didn't turn your back on them as their attorney, and you fought for them. So internally, it's extremely rewarding.
Wow. I don't know if this falls under the category that you do under one of your cases, but so a friend of mine he's in Italy, obviously a whole different country, but still want to know how would you have handled the case. He just told me, because I was bitching about my life, he's like, girl, please, here's what happened. So he was at the concert. He's the one that puts up the stage. He's the whole concert creator, I guess. Some mafia guy from Naples came drunk, and he thought he somehow mistaken my friend for whomever kicked him out of the concert because they had the same color jacket and he was drunk. So he was out there he pulled out a knife to do something to my friend. But because my friend had two other people around him, one of them pushed him from the back, slapped him in the head. The mafia guy falls on the ground, dies.
Okay.
So now my friend was like, okay, everybody, you guys can go. I'll just take the blame. But there were cameras. So the cameras showed that he wasn't alone. He didn't do that. Now he's in trouble too because he lied to try to cover for whomever the heck slapped. And obviously it wasn't intentional. He saw the knife and he's trying to protect his friend. This is a very messy case, I think. How, if you're the judge of that, who's going to jail? Who's staying? What's happening here?
The good thing is a lot of times the judge doesn't make the decision a lot out here. A lot of times the jury does, right? So what the judge decides is pretty much what evidence can be submitted, what evidence has to be kept out for various laws. So what you want to do as a judge, if it was, because there are avenues where it's called a bench trial, and that's where the judge looks at all the evidence and then ultimately makes the decision and makes the ruling, is you really want to pay attention to all the evidence and then see what defenses the other side brings up, right? In this case, the biggest defense would be self-defense, saying it would actually be what's called the defense of others, because the person who pushed him would not have been fearing for his own life because he wasn't attacking him, right? He would have feared for the life of his friend, right? He saw him about to attack his friend with a knife, which is a deadly weapon, so that's why he stepped in. So there's a defense of others. So I think the most important thing as a judge, again, to be fair, to be impartial, listen to both sides, that type of a case, you have to listen to the evidence on both sides. There's camera footage, especially if there's audio involved. And then I think after you consider all the legal evidence, then you make the best decision based on the law. And I mean, sometimes it's hard, but if you go through the process and you are fair and you are unbiased, then it's a fair verdict. It's a fair ruling. I think the problem is when you don't trust the process. The problem is when you think the judge is going to be biased. He's going to be on one side because, he's always for the prosecution or he's always for the defense. That's the problem, is when you have a judge that's not fair, not unbiased. But when you have a fair judge, at the end of the day, in law, there's always two sides. One person is going to win, one person is going to lose, right? There's never going to be two winners. There might be two losers, but usually a judge is going to rule in someone's favor. And that means the other person is not going to get in their favor. So if the judge is fair and explaining the process to you on why they rule, why you might not agree with the ruling, you will at least know that it was fair. And there's a satisfaction in knowing that you weren't wronged and that it was fair. And I think that that's what the judge's focus needs to be.
I like that. That's a really good answer right there. I'm going to bother you with one more question. Could you provide me, actually 2 questions. Could you provide me an example of a case or a legal principle that, oh no, we already answered that. I'll edit that out. Reflecting on your career, is there anything you would have done differently knowing what you know now? Any advice for new lawyers?
I really do not think I would have done anything. I think that everything in my career, being licensed in both states, being licensed and being able to do civil law and criminal law, I think that really is what's given me the knowledge that I need today to be a fair and efficient judge. Advice I would give to people is to, first of all, if you are going through law school or anything like that, try as many different types of laws as you can, because you want to know what type of law gives you that satisfaction and gives you the purpose. When I say that, I started in civil and I thought that I just hated being a lawyer because I did not like civil law. I did not like fighting over money. I do not like talking to insurance adjusters. I hated it. And I was like, you know what, it's fine, because people hate their jobs all day, right? There's a lot of people who do. So I was like, that's fine, but it's not my thing. But then when I got into criminal law, I knew this is where I belong, right? This is what I love to do. And I really started to love and embrace my job, and I felt like my quality of life was better. So I wouldn't have discovered that if I never completely went into a different field. So I always tell new attorneys, do as many different laws as you can while you're in law school, while you're just starting out, because once you get locked into a job, now you have bills, now you have family, now you have children, you don't have time to go and explore, you actually have to work. So it's good to know what types of law you want to do. And law is so vast. And I mean, if you just look out the room, there was an attorney that went into this being built. There was an attorney that went into this. The place you live at, there's an attorney that drafted that contract, right? The building permits, there's an attorney. You go to City Hall, there's an attorney there. So the law is so vast. If you never want to go to court, but you want to be a lawyer, that you can do that. If you only want to go to court, you can do that. So I think it's just try as much as you can. Experience as much as you can so that you know what type of law you ultimately want to practice.
That is amazing advice. And to vote for you, when is the voting? How do we...
Yes, so early voting is October 19th, November 1st, and then the election day is November 5th. And you can go to kristalbradford.com. So that's KristalBradford.com, and you can learn more about me and my platform. You can donate, learn how to help. And, I just want to leave you with one thing, that it is crystal clear that you want justice, and I am the only crystal on the ballot.
Nice. That's going to be very easy to remember.
Yes.
Crystal clear.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.